The race for the 2026 State Superintendent of Public Instruction is heating up. Michael Kelly, Naj Alikhan, thrilled to be with you and thrilled to be joined by one of the candidates, Muratsuchi. Thanks so much for taking the time. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Good to be here with you. Let's start with this. Why is now the right time for you to make this run for State Superintendent of Public Instruction?
You know, I'm passionate about public education. I've been fighting for public education for over 20 years as a classroom educator. I teach government at my local community college. I served on my local school board, the Torrance Unified School District, enrollment about 24,000 for 7 years, including serving as president. And for the last 12 years, I've been serving in the California legislature, not only as a state legislator, state assembly member, but as chair of both the Assembly Education Committee as well as the Assembly Budget Subcommittee on Education Finance. And so, I believe that I have the track record of getting things done, that I have the proven track record of being the best qualified candidate in this race.
This next question so important. But what do you believe to be the biggest issues we're facing in public education here in the state of California?
Well, number one, we have a federal administration that is attacking public education on so many different fronts. Starting with the dismantling of the United States Department of Education. All of us in education know that while most business of public education is conducted at the state and local levels, we know that the federal government plays a critical role in terms of the funding, as well as in terms of the enforcement of many of our federal education, equal educational opportunity laws. Laws that protect our students with special needs through the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or making sure that we have the funding for our Title I kids, for low-income kids, for migrant kids. So many of our student populations in the state of California. So, I do believe that number one, we need to, especially for the incoming state superintendent, it's going to be critical that we have a statewide education leader that is going to lead the fight against a federal administration that in many ways is attacking the core values that we here in the state of California stand for.
Assemblymember, it has certainly been an interesting month when you look at what Gavin Newsom, California's governor, had to say at his State of the State address about what he views the role of the state superintendent of public instruction to look like moving forward. I wonder, from your perspective, what you think this position should look like in the future.
Yeah, so as chair of the education committee, I received a advanced briefing of the governor's proposal, and I, of course, look forward to seeing the details of the proposal. But I think conceptually, I think most people get that the founders of the state of California put into the original constitution of the state that Californians want an independently elected voice, a leader for K-12 education in the state of California. And, California voters on 4 occasions have rejected attempts to try to undermine this independently elected education officer, a statewide constitutional officer focusing on public education. I should say TK to 12 rather than K through 12. So conceptually, I think the governor's proposal is going in the wrong direction. I mean, California voters have clearly indicated, at least on 4 statewide ballot initiatives, that they want a independently elected statewide education constitutional officer as a check on, they don't want, just another bureaucrat running public education through another state department. Trying to. So the governor's proposal trying to consolidate the State Department of Education. I understand that there are issues, in terms of how we need to streamline and improve governance at the statewide level for public education. But I believe fundamentally that this goes against what the Constitution, what the founders have established in our Constitution, and what California voters want.
You talked earlier about the federal government. Given what we've seen from the federal government over the last year and their attempts to dismantle the Department of Education, how would you make sure that we keep students at the forefront of everything we're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is, we're living in crazy times where we're facing so many challenges. Um, I'll be direct. Being created by this Trump administration, and while I don't want to engage in too much partisan politics, I think we can all of us in education can agree that what has been proposing in terms of public education, he's not only calling on taking steps to dismantle the United States Department of Education with all the layoffs decimating the workforce there. We know that the department is critical, especially their Office of Civil Rights, in charge of enforcing our federal equal educational opportunity laws, laws that impact our most vulnerable students, whether it's our students with special needs or our immigrant students, our low income students. And so it becomes all the more critical for the state of California to, and the next state superintendent and the California Department of Education to lead in fighting to protect, our most vulnerable students, to make sure that our students with special needs are not being denied their right to quality education. We want to make sure that we're protecting our immigrant students. That's why last year, I wrote into law the California Safe Haven Schools Act to strengthen the law and to clarify to all school districts throughout the state of California that the immigration enforcement is not to be allowed on our on our school campuses without a valid warrant. So these are some of many things that we need to do as the state of California to fight to protect our most vulnerable students.
Assemblymember, we've seen record per pupil spending in the state of California, and yet that has not translated to higher scores in math and reading as California finds itself really in the middle of the pack. So I wonder how you would work with districts to help translate that level of investment into higher test scores for California public school students.
Yes, so as a chair of the education committee, as a state lawmaker, as a former school board member, I mean, I've always worked closely with our local school districts, knowing full well that we operate in a system of local control here in the state of California. But I believe as state superintendent, I would like to work closely with our local school districts to strategize and coordinate an approach of identifying and focusing and funding the best educational practices, the most effective data-based educational practices that we know produce the strongest student outcomes. Case in point, for the last couple of years, I worked hard on this evidence-based literacy instruction initiative, what some people refer to as the science of reading. We know that over 40 states in the country have adopted these evidence-based literacy instructional practices, and that California was an outlier in terms of not doing more to encourage these best practices. I recognize as a state lawmaker, as chair of the education committee, that there's the policy and there's the politics. And so for the past 2 years, I worked hard to navigate the politics to enact AB Assembly Bill 1454, working with Speaker Robert Rivas and Assemblymember Blanca Rubio to provide $300 million in funding to promote these evidence-based literacy instructional practices. And so I think that's just one of many examples of what I'd like to do to work with local school districts to identify best practices and to make sure that there's the necessary resources to support these best practices.
Before we started putting this interview together, we were just talking about how this is one of the deepest fields that we have had for this SBI position in a number of years. Plenty of qualified candidates. So I will ask you, what sets you apart from the rest of the candidates, and what makes you the best candidate for this job?
Yeah, well, thank you. I've really appreciated working with ACSA, over my years serving in the California legislature and especially as chair of the education committee. Um, I'm going to guess that I might be the only candidate in this race that has received the coveted ACSA Friend of Education Award, um, which I have displayed prominently in my office because I'm proud that I've worked with our superintendents, our school site administrators, um, to champion public education. I believe that I am the best qualified candidate in this race to be your next state superintendent. I'm the only candidate that has the combined experience of statewide policy leadership as chair of the education committee, as a former chair of the budget subcommittee, this is a statewide a policy position, I have the strongest experience focusing on public education. But also critically, I have the local school district governance experience as a former local school board member. Um, Again, we operate in a local control state, and it's critical that the next state superintendent has firsthand experience of understanding how local school district governance works. Last but not least, I have classroom experience. I teach government at my local community college, El Camino College in Torrance. I've also taught ethics studies at UCLA, and so I bring that classroom experience. And so, I'm the only candidate in this race that has that combination of statewide education policy leadership, local school district governance, and classroom experience. And I believe the next state superintendent absolutely needs not only the proven track record of getting things done, but that combined experience of statewide, local, and classroom experience.
Assemblymember Muratsuchi, candidate for 2026 California State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Thanks so much for the time. Best of luck in the weeks and months ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.